This video will talk you through solving algebraic equations that are proportions using the property of extremes and means. So this is the basic representation of extremes means. A over B equaling C over D. And this is cross multiplication. The extremes will be the product of A and D, and the means will be the product of B and C. So sometimes students think of it as making a shape like that. The extremes will be the AD portion. Product of the extremes equaling the product of the means. So extremes being first numerator, second denominator, and the means being the two on the inside. So these are your extremes and then your means on the inside. So I point this out because I want to make sure that you realize that the fraction bar acts as a grouping symbol in this case. So you'll need the distributive property, and that's what I would like to make sure you understand on this video. So I've made up an example, and you can see that the denominator in each fraction is just simply an integer, but the numerator is this little expression with a variable and a constant, which is the term in the numerator that does not have a variable with it. So if I employ the extremes means, that means that this numerator times this denominator is going to represent the left-hand side of my equation. And notice that I put parentheses around this numerator. I really did not need to do it to the denominator. But the fraction bar acts as a grouping symbol, meaning that when I multiply and take these fractions apart, 6x minus 2 needs to remain glued together until I get to a point where I can undo it. So let me write the first step. So here will be the product of my extremes. It's going to be 8 times the numerator, 6x minus 2, making sure that I put that numerator in parentheses. And now let's take the product of the means. So once again, I've got another fraction with an expression in the numerator. So when I do the cross multiplication, I'm going to have 7, and it would be multiplied by the expression 5x plus 7 in parentheses, since the 5x and the 7 represented the numerator of the original fraction. And I need to make sure that you all understand that the fraction bar is a grouping symbol and that these expressions remain glued together until you get to the point where you can untangle them. So let's go ahead and solve this. So now I'm distributing. And I'll gather my x terms on one side. I always gather x's on the left. That's just my habit. And 48 minus 35 leaves me with 13 x's. And now I'm going to add 16 to both sides. And then I end up with 13x being set equal to 65. And now I multiply both sides by 1 over 13 to isolate the x. And I end up with x equaling 5. That is the solution to this equation. X equals 5 for its solution set notation, but you would need to show this amount of work. I would like to look at least one or two in the problem set with you, at least to set them up, to make sure that you get the setup correct, and then I'll let you solve on your own. Let's look at example number 4 first. So you can see in example 4, the first fraction, you've got the expressions with the variable and the constant in both numerator and denominator. So my first step, the product of the extremes, would be 5 times 2k minus 3. So that would be this product. And I'm going to set that equal to 3 times k plus 9. And I'm going to be confident that you all can take that from there on your own. Looking at number 3, the product of the extremes, 5 times y minus 3, and I would set that equal to the product of the means, which would just simply be 2y. But I made the video for the sole purpose of making sure that you understand that the fraction bar is a grouping symbol, and when you take the fraction apart to solve the proportion, you need to put either the numerator or the denominator whichever piece that little expression fell into, you need to keep that in parentheses and use the distributive property as you solve. And I'll set up number 4 with you since it's on view in the video. So first I'm going to have 9 times n minus 4. That would be my extremes. And then my means, 6 times n minus 7. And now you have a simple algebraic equation with variables on both sides. Your first step is going to be to apply the distributive property and then gather like terms on your way to solving.